So everybody say hi from my podcast. Hi. We're at the UK APP seminars in 2017, and we're going to talk about tongue piercings. Tongue piercings, it's a super simple piercing when you look at it in one way, but it's a really complex piercing if you look at it in another way. It's what I would call like a staple.
The battle of wizards and warriors continues with iron swords. The evil wizard Malkill will take the shape of the earth, wind, water, and fire. Farewell! The fate of the world is in your hands!
You're listening to the Piercing Wizard podcast, and I'm your host, Ryan Willett. I'm a professional body piercer with 20 years experience. I travel around the world teaching technique and safety classes, and I'm a member of the Association of Professional Piercers. Listen in as I talk to my friends and colleagues about our industry so we can all stay sharp. Hey everybody, how you doing? I just got back from the UK APP seminars in Birmingham, England. I'd say it was a huge success. They did a really good job. Extra classrooms this year, more vendors, more attendees, more instructors, and it was just a really good vibe. You know, everybody had a lot of fun, made a lot of new friends, learned a lot of new information. It was really nice to see all my UK friends. I feel like my classes went really well. Some of the other classes were really impressive. A new crop of instructors kind of coming up. Big props to Lola Slider. She was awesome. I co-instructed a class with her, and I was just super impressed. Like, she did a really, really awesome job, especially for a first-time instructor. I got a lot of interviews while I was there, maybe 7 hours worth, with some really, really interesting guests. So over the next couple of weeks, expect some pretty good content for you. I'm going to be home for just a couple more days, and then I'm off to an APP board meeting in Atlanta, Georgia, and then off to Camp APP. I should get a load of other interviews in there. Lots of cool, interesting people to talk to. So I'll probably have a good amount of content through the end of the year for you, so I can kind of keep the show on track. So let's just jump right into it with this week's interview. I can't think of anybody better to talk about the UK APP seminars than the president of the United Kingdom Association of Professional Piercers, my friend Nicole Holmes. So check that out, and I'll be back after the interview.
My name's Nicole Holmes, and I'm the president of the UK APP. I've been piercing since 1999. The organisation's been going for 3 years now, so there's a big pile of information in my brain between then and now.
I would imagine.
Yeah. You can find me probably everywhere on the internet now, if I'm honest. If you type my name in, I'm going to pop up, which is pretty cool if you're looking for yourself. And you can find me at bluelotuspiercing.co.uk. You can find me on Safe Piercing, which is ukapp.org.uk. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, which is just Blue Lotus Piercing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I kind of remember sort of the conversations that turned into the UK APP.
Yeah, me too.
It was all the British piercers hanging out at BMXNet, kind of thinking, well, you know, there's always this contingent of the Spanish piercers and the Germans and the Italians and then the Brits. So we should have our own organization.
Yep. And
you did it, and you seem to have done it pretty well.
Yep. I first found the APP when I was an apprentice, which sounds great. It really does sound great. But also, I got given a manual, one of the really old manuals, and basically got told to read it 10 times and highlight things that I got confused about. And then I had maybe 2 days to do that.
Okay.
And it was very, very thin. There wasn't anywhere near as much information then as what it is now. And it's obviously, it's not a how-to. It's just basic instructions, I guess, especially back then, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's more like guidelines rather than instruction.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And back then, this is the first few days on the job. I was basically cleaning the studio and reading the book. That's all I was doing. So this highlighter pen was supposed to go over everything that I didn't understand.
Did you highlight half the book?
Everything. I basically highlighted the book. I should have just coloured the whole thing in start to finish. Yeah. But the piercer that was teaching me didn't really understand it. So instantly, APP was more my teacher than my teacher, you know? So the book kind of got thrown at me, and he was like, look, just watch and learn, we'll do it differently, this clearly isn't going to work. And I got to keep that, and I think I still have it, and it is covered in highlighter pen, and it's torn and well worn, and I should reframe it, honestly.
You should.
I really totally should, although it's probably a bit manky. So that was, I kind of fell in love with APP from that, because I was instantly disheartened with my master, with my teacher, and already kind of infatuated with APP. They already seemed to know more than the person who was supposed to be teaching me. But for years, I didn't think anything about them, and I was really, really lucky that I then will not tell the life story, but through not working with them anymore and getting a new job, I then got reintroduced to the APP when they'd done 2 seminars in Amsterdam, right?
Right. Yeah. Years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I seen the second one.
Okay.
I was really, really lucky to be there. I think it was 2002.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was going to an APP conference. I got
Right.
told I was working
Just a
convention. I was
Right.
even told, so I was expecting more tattooists and like a typical convention where you can maybe buy some stuffed animals and some jewelry and things like this.
Right.
But when I got there, he was like, "Oh, go sign yourself up with some classes." I was like, "Oh, beg your pardon? Who's doing this?" He says, "Oh, it's APP," and then I wet myself.
Wow.
I was absolutely buzzing.
Yeah.
And oh God, I guess kind of since then the rest was history. But then it obviously disappeared. There was no more APP over in Europe at all.
Yeah, it's tough for resources, and
Of course.
and it's also kind of driven by who's on the board. So I think Bethra was a pretty strong influence on having it in Europe, and then when
Maybe just a touch too soon, huh?
well, yeah, maybe. And then Alicia Cardenas was the drive to bring it more into like the Latin American market and into Mexico. So it changes, but it definitely comes back around, and I think now we have a pretty strong influence around,
hugely,
the UK and Europe.
Hugely.
Yeah.
So again, many years travels by, multiple jobs, different places, moving around the world. All this kind of happened, and again, APP is just background information, and because I didn't really have any communication with board members back then, because I was just there with my boss for that one day, and then we left after, and there was lots of drinking involved at the end of the night, and you kind of just forget about it and move on.
Right.
I didn't think that I could reach out to them about anything when I opened my own studio until I got a flyer through one of my suppliers for BMXnet.
Yeah.
And that flyer reminded me that organizations exist, like it was, oh my God, this happens everywhere. I completely forgot that this is even a thing.
Yeah.
And went across straight away to BMX that straight year. And I think we met each other that year, actually.
Yeah.
And kind of the rest starts to become history. But more
Because you were there as a jewelry vendor the first year, right?
No, just a piece.
Why do I always feel like, because I think I met you in the jewelry vending area,
Quite possibly.
and maybe I got you confused in my mind, like that you were there vending jewelry or something like that.
Maybe
you
you just made it up.
It's
just
possible.
dreaming about buying jewelry from me, that's what it is.
I do not have a very well-regarded memory.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
And I do dream about piercing, so things get fudgy.
Okay.
Yeah. That year, I was sat, they have that lovely little cove that's all orange and glowy with windows everywhere.
Bethra's hangout spot.
Yeah, well, I was sat in there, and it was maybe the first or the second day, and there was another piercer, and I wish to this day I could remember who it was, but there was English speaking, we were getting on great, but I don't think it was a Brit, saying, "Oh, are you a member of the APP?" And I was like, "Oh God, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I still use cannulas." Bethra must have taken 2 steps in front of me, and she just stopped dead and turned around and says, "What are you guys talking about? That's not true." And that's when the rest starts to become history, because as soon as I realised I could be a member, within weeks I was.
Yeah.
And then within weeks of being a member...
Were you the first member?
There has been a member of the APP in the UK many years ago.
The first current
Yes,
member.
Definitely. So within the last 10 years, my studio was the first. That's bluelotuspiercing.co.uk.
That's impressive.
Thank you. We did need to make some modifications.
Well, I'm sure everybody does. Yeah.
It was mostly posters and stickers and things that shouldn't be touched. And kind of realising, actually, that was probably the dawn of us realising that signage and record keeping is much more of a thing than maybe infancy studios or new trainees actually realise that keeping track and having all that
I think
stuff
some people get kind of swept up in like look how cool this job is, and not like, look, this is a job.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah. And we all fear the day that fallback comes back on us, but if you have records for absolutely everything, you know who did what, and you have a training protocol for what that person did and where that training protocol comes from, you have every leg to stand on.
Yeah. Dave Vidra used to always say, like, if you didn't document it, it never happened.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why people have Instagram. You didn't go on holiday unless you're on Instagram.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me think. From the first year of meeting Bethra, then the second year, or maybe it was by the third. It's a bit fuzzy now. This is like 6 years ago. Maybe by the third, I was then starting to talk to the other Brits, because there really wasn't very many Brits over.
Yeah,
over
no, there weren't. I think, you were definitely one of the most prominent. Charlie came along.
Yes, yeah, Charlie was there that first year, but we didn't speak. It was the next year. Charlie and I were frightened of each other.
Really?
She's going to listen to this now and laugh at me. But we were frightened of each other the first time, because there was only maybe 3 Brits
Dreadlock
there.
competition.
maybe everything competition.
Yeah.
Charlie and I have a lot in common. Yeah, but we didn't really speak. And then the next year, I think everyone just kind of realised that the Brits were growing, and we slowly began to form like a little table, and at lunchtimes we were kind of hooking up together, and then by the third year we were aboard.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an army after a while.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So on the third year, I remember I've actually got the notebook with me now. This is like my little conference notebook that goes everywhere with me. And on the third year, I remember sitting. Maybe it was with you, trying to delegate jobs for everybody. Who can be this?
I remember that conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And having everyone's wrote down and go, well, this is what it seems like they're good at.
Right.
Where can we put them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then broaching it with those two.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what the original question was now.
Oh, I don't know either. But, I mean, BMX... it's regarded strangely at points when it comes up in conversation. I think so many people are really hungry for education that sometimes they can maybe knock BMX and say, well, it's a bit more of a party, but it's not so much that. It's that it's more conversational.
It's social.
It's very social.
I would not have the friends I have in UKPP would not exist without BMX.
Right.
BMX is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It just has the opportunity for you to put your feet up more.
Exactly.
Which means if you've been to all of the classes,
it's less stressful for sure.
It's definitely less stressful.
Yeah.
It's much more relaxed, and there's a lot of really nice food, and the people are lovely.
And vegan food, which is you don't find too often. Plus the venue on Perfect House is
it's unbelievable.
Pretty amazing.
No one will ever compete with that.
Yeah. My first time that I did BMX, they were actually at a different venue in Essen.
Yes.
And I don't remember it being like that fun and impressive and communal. And, yeah.
That's definitely something to take from BMX is it's really good fun.
Yeah.
And you can suspend, and you can get pierced, and you can watch a lot of crazy shit that you can't see anywhere else, you know?
But you can also have these conversations with people who are maybe a half an hour or an hour away from you that you've never met before. And it removes that intimidation barrier where you can just have a conversation and great things happen when you have those sorts of interactions with people.
It's crazy how it's totally different. If you got your neighbour to come from their shop to meet you halfway between your shop and theirs, you would be a different person than if you met them at conference.
Right.
Because it's a much more... it's
defensive
mutual.
almost.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it's so friendly and mutual, and because everyone at all conferences I've been to, everyone has been friendly. No one has been guarded.
Right.
No one hasn't answered a question
Exactly.
that I've had.
No one would say like, well, that's a trade secret, I'm sorry.
Oh God, I've never even heard that term in this industry.
Yeah.
It's
cool. It's nice to see. But I know that you're reasonably humble, but you deserve a lot of credit for the organization starting and these conversations like continuing into something, because people can talk and talk and talk, every year, and then they'll say, oh, well, we'll check in and I'll see you in a year. But, you did something. You brought that energy back home with you, and then you started some of the meetups, right?
Thank you.
Oh, you're turning red. But how did the meetups start?
So... yeah, this actually puts the timescale bang on. I think I've got this right. Because that was the first 3 years, kind of just there. And then coming back after deciding we were going to do something about it.
Yeah.
So BMX is what? September, October. The first meetup was November. So it was just weeks later.
Yeah.
And thinking about it, Bethra came. And Bethra came, and that's 6 weeks after meeting her at BMX. I mean, obviously now it's meeting her 3 years in a row. But that means... thinking about Bless her, she flew out twice. Maybe she was on holiday. I hope she was on holiday.
She tends to do extended trips.
Okay, so she might have already been here.
Yeah, it's likely.
Because now in hindsight, that's a really big flight to come for a 3-hour cafe meeting.
I'm sure she was probably around the area, but she's incredibly supportive. She doesn't get enough credit for that. She's incredibly supportive of different communities.
Massively.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fortunate stroke unfortunate. So around about the same time, my apprentice had broken his hand. Okay. And when he had his hand broken, he was in a position where if he didn't get paid, he would have to move out of his apartment. And
Are we talking about Seb?
Sebastian, yes.
Didn't he also break his leg?
He's broke everything whilst he's worked with us. Yes.
The bicycles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Seb needs brakes.
Get him some pads or something.
Oh, he won't do it.
Yeah,
he has pads, but he won't do brakes.
Because they don't look cool.
I don't know. I've had this conversation with him a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Everyone has this conversation with him. Anyway, totally aside, we wanted to pay him for doing something.
Right.
And he was in the studio anyway. So we realised that Facebook is one of the best opportunities to socialise with people in a very informal way, in their pockets, day to day, with photographs.
Yeah. Everybody carries Facebook with them all day.
Exactly. You can't go wrong if you just broach someone through Facebook, because if they just don't friend you, you're okay and move on.
Right.
So we Googled piercing studio in, and then went through every single district in the UK And between the two of us, we spent 2 solid weeks, approximately 12 hours a day, hand inviting every single studio we could get our mitts on. It was a copy and paste message, but a lot of you guys don't have Facebook. Get Facebook. You need that. You have no idea how much we couldn't reach you because you didn't have Facebook.
So were you emailing or calling or sending physical letters?
We made the group, so we made the meetup group.
Right.
We made the admins, and no, did we invite people? And then we made the admins. I don't remember if it was a surprise for the admins or not, but we ended that 2 weeks with 200 Facebook members for the UK PSA meetup group. This is how we started.
Yeah.
It's pointless saying we're going to make a UKPP, or we didn't have a name back then. It's pointless saying we're going to have a PSN organisation if we don't have PSNs talking to each other. So that was an unofficial decision of we need to get in people's pockets and in people's minds and start meeting people.
Yeah.
And we need to educate people about things like BMX was actually one of our original intentions. We didn't intend on having conference.
Right. You wanted to try to get people to other existing conferences.
We wanted to get people education.
Yeah, but just wherever it comes from.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, that was always our original intention. It was just showing other people that what we have managed to find is out there, or something similar, or just start to network, or anything, you know. God, that took maybe 6 weeks later. We were like, we need to hang out somewhere.
Right.
So the first meetup was born of grabbing those people on Facebook, saying this is a meetup social group. We're going to meet up like every few months, and you're invited. Yeah. Then 5 people came, but 5 people out of 200 for the first ever thing. That's not a bad number.
It's something, but you know, again, look at what it's grown into.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what I especially liked about yours is you didn't try to make it a regional thing, because they have them all over the States and Canada and here and there, and it's always like there's a New England, like a Northeast group, and then there's a West Coast Bay Area group, and then there's this. You did those meetups in different locations around the UK. So you did one in the North, one in the South, to make it more accessible to everyone.
Yes. Yeah. We couldn't do that. We're too small. So New England is probably the size of England.
Yeah.
So I don't know, why do they not move around New England?
It's really just that so many piercers in the States look at, like, APP is the umbrella. So, you know, if we're all going to collectively go somewhere, it's going to be APP. That's pretty much it in the States. And then, you know, if we want to have our own little regional meetups, then it'll just be like this little group and this little group.
Okay.
They're not trying to, like, make it as hugely inclusive. No one is excluded, but it's more regional.
I think really the main difference in that is probably just the size of our country, really.
Yeah. Maybe. You also have really good public transport. You can take a train anywhere here.
We do. Yeah. So the Birmingham meetup I don't remember when that was. 2 months ago? We just did one not that long ago down in Birmingham. Yeah. And we flew down there for the day. Yeah, which for a Brit, that's really rare. Yeah. We don't fly the length of the country and come back in a day. Right. And we went to London for the day, and that's only 6 hours on the train. So it's 3 hours on the train, so 6 hours there and back. And when we tell our locals, we're going to be shut in a day because we're thinking about heading down to London, they're like, oh, cool, how long are you going to be gone for? Like, 1 day. Yeah. And their jaws drop because we just don't do that.
Yeah. It'd be like me going to, like, you know, I'm going to go to New York for the day. I'll be back tonight.
I don't really understand the difference in that. You're on one coast and that's the other, right?
No.
I don't. Do America in the air, right? So you've got big blob. Yeah. America.
So I'm pretty much all the way on the right. I'm on the northeast, and I could drive to New York in about 4 hours or fly there in about 1.
That's still closer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe more like Philadelphia. I could drive to Philadelphia in 6 hours. Okay. Whatever. Geography aside. Yeah. So when you had the meetups, basically what was it? Was it just social, or were you kind of talking about a topic or anything?
Purely social to start with, because again, if you've got a bunch of people, most people probably think that this industry is going to be very similar to tattooists, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way to tattooists.
Yeah, no, it's pretty far off. Yeah.
I guess it's also very similar for hairdressers or vets. You know, like if you've got competition nearby, most people would expect that competition to either not say anything about you or not say good things about you. Right. So why would you want to go and hang out with them in the same room as you? So I think everyone who got there, thankfully, 3 of us knew each other, and so there was myself, there was Sebastian, and he's going to kill us for calling that, Seb, and Amy, and that's our desk girl. Yeah. And then there was Bethra. Yeah. And then there was Kim Hutchinson. And Kim Hutchinson is, we've all got that one neighbour that's just far enough away that, and you know, like their work is close, good.
But they're but
that you also know is good. So you have like a weird professional nod to each other every now and then. So she was the first. So it was kind of like my little family. Yeah. And then Bethra. Yeah. Tying everything together, and then Kim, and we all got along like a house on fire. Yeah. Everyone wanted to be there. That was the thing. And Aiden. Oh my God, he's gonna kill me. Yeah. He drove for 4 hours. Wow. To get there. Yeah. Oh my God, he's gonna murder me. He's gonna absolutely murder me now. Sorry, Aiden. Yeah, he was definitely there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did it grow into like repeated meets because people kind of saw what they were missing out on online?
Well, I guess because there was only that small handful of people for the first one.
Yeah.
It was a mission, not failure, but we wanted mission success before growth, you know?
Okay.
So you want it to not just be the people who know each other, but more to the point, people who don't.
Right.
So we had a second one, and then we had a third where we moved, because by then you've got this history online of this social thing is happening, and other PSs appear to be talking, and we were like writing down what we talked and saying it was so nice to meet you and being friendly online, and people wanted to, it seemed, be part of that. I wanted to be part of that with other places, so I don't see why other people didn't want that too. And once we got a history, I guess, of having successfully met without getting drunk and fighting or burning each other's shops down, and then the fact that it, like you say, it travelled around and it became less difficult for people to come, and a lot of people do actually speak online, you know, like sometimes you do have a PSA friend that's just 2 hours away or whatever, and then they would have opportunity to meet up, and it just took off. It really took off. So the socials technically are not UK APP. They're just social events. Just meetups, definitely. An opportunity for us to get together and to talk a lot.
Yeah. And then I remember there was a meetup where you kind of all decided to talk about the issue of like FGM.
We did.
And that's when kind of like sharing industry goals started to become part of the UK APP meetup.
Yeah, so you've got to remember these meetups have formed around about the time a board has already decided they're going to become a board of something, but not really actually
not sure what the something was yet.
Exactly. So we're all talking to each other, but at the same time not really telling the people coming to the meetup that we have a master plan, because we didn't really yet. We wanted to know that it was going to work. I've forgotten the question.
Basically how it went from meetups to kind of like talking about a subject, and then that was kind of that stopgap between the meetups and the seminars.
I know why I was joining that together now. It's because we had always wanted to. We thought that would be a really good unifying subject because it affects everybody.
Yeah, it definitely does.
So we'd always thought that when we got big enough in numbers, they'd be like almost like, okay, we can talk about this now.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened. But I'm like you, I don't remember all of these details. I don't remember if I took the bus here or the train there. There's been that many meetups now. We're on 7.
Yeah.
And that's actually quite a lot if you put it in with Vegas and Germany as well. So you have business, life and holidays, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who needs time for that though? So when you started to make the conscious decision that there was going to be a board before you were sure what they were going to be boarding over, how did that group come about? Was it just kind of like, these are the people who seem to be putting in the most effort and who are always involved in the conversation?
Okay, so technically the answer really is because they were there.
Right.
Yep, that's honestly the truth of it. So for a couple of years in a row, the Brits have been accumulating in BMX, and then all of a sudden we got to a point where 6 of us were really, really getting along, and that was the magic number.
Right.
That's how that happened. But I've since spoke to the lady that's doing the Canadian. Is it Vicky?
Vicky? Yeah.
Vicky, yeah. And she says she's been almost interviewing people. So she made the Facebook group.
Right.
She got everyone fired up and like invited it all to it. And then she's been taking separate moments to interview them.
Right.
And I'm glad we have the board we have. Everyone's amazing. Massively amazing. And somehow by being thrown in it on the spot, we had no choice but to make it work.
Right.
But that also sounds like a really cool idea. Maybe we could have had the opportunity to get someone who's crossover professions in there too.
I wouldn't regret any of
I do not regret it.
Maybe not regret, but second guess anything like that.
I think that's kind of inspiring, you know, like the way she's done it's cool. So I guess what I'm saying really is, if I was doing it again, that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
So really, I'm saying this to other people.
I think you definitely lucked out with the group you have.
I totally did.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I love you.
So, what basically came first? Was it the first seminar or was it the organization? It was the first seminar, right?
They kind of happened at the same time because paperwork and logistics and legalities.
Right.
Yeah, so the first thing that happened was we got a GoFundMe for £500, and that £500 basically gets the name registered with Company House.
Okay.
So the organisation technically came first, but I believe it was kind of in the post around conference. So we'd had maybe 4 or 5 of the meetups at that point, and at the meetups people were saying, oh, we really want to learn something. And you were saying, I kind of like a holiday to England. And it literally just happened. We organised that first thing in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So, well, it wasn't really organised, was it? It just happened.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you found a venue,
Yeah.
you pulled together multiple people that taught something and that actually had a class, and it wasn't just someone standing at the front of the room being like, oh, hey, I know a few things, let me show you a few things. It was
Okay.
organized,
Yeah,
but
when
it was...
you say that it was organised,
It was like proto-organization,
Yes.
but it was definitely there.
That was definitely our most organic, can we do this
Oh,
experience.
Grassroots, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It
was punk rock. That's
yeah,
what it was. Yeah.
My absolute favourite thing about that was so Aidan got thrown in. Aidan does all sorts of engineering stuff, and he's like a little wizard for that thing.
Yeah.
He had a big polishing machine. He spent ages figuring out how to do it. He was
Yeah.
like, let's get people hand polishing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's dangerous.
Well,
if you do,
you were supervising.
Exactly. Well, it was really fun. We
Yeah.
really liked it. So
Yeah.
there's like crazy photos of us all fucking up a nose stud.
That was really great though, because you got people engaged. It wasn't just my least favorite thing in a class is when someone takes a picture of the classroom and there are people that are nodding off or checking their phones or looking down and not paying attention. Every single person there was like looking intently and paying
Proper alert.
attention. Yeah, because they were engaged in it. It was great. And having support from like ISUK like that early was great.
Yep.
Having different instructors talking about different subjects, it was impressive.
And all it being in a bar, there was no alcohol as well. So
Right.
that went down really, really well.
Yeah, no, it was good. And, I like to claim the credit for catching that first picture of...
Oh my God, yeah, you
really
did.
the group together. Because I remember everybody
That's
was...
our famous picture, right?
Yeah,
It's like-
everybody was about to scatter, and I was like, hold on, let me get a picture for the point, because I'm going to have to write an article on this,
You're totally right. I
Click.
forgot.
Yeah, it was great.
That does explain why you're not in there.
Yeah, basically.
People ask me that, and
Yeah.
I'm like, he must be taking the photo.
Yeah, I was the one taking the picture.
Oh, it's a shame you're not in there, though. But we
Yeah.
do have a photo of you in that poor quality lighting, just like pointing out something, and like
Right.
half of your face is
Yeah,
pushed out. It's like, that
washed
is
out
mine.
because it's in front of a screen.
Yeah.
But that was a great conference, and I remember isn't that where you made the announcement that there was going to be membership in the future?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's good. It's a historic event.
So I can't, looking at that now and looking at what we're in the second day of right now, I can't believe that last year was just our second year.
Yeah.
Thinking about, when you think about it like that.
I talked to Mike earlier, and I was like, that first seminar 3 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, was it really only 3 years ago? It feels like a lot longer.
It feels like 5 or 10. easily.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. So what kind of
pressure.
numbers did you have at that first venue? Maybe about 30?
About 30.
Yeah.
Maybe 40 if you include the people who were behind the scenes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, like us 10 and like a couple of drivers and a bit of IS.
Yeah. And it was all done like volunteer, low or no budget, really. And then...
No, actually, IS paid for the venue. So
Oh.
IS have been there since the very, very start. I think it was either £200 or £300 for like the day.
Yeah.
But that's Paddy. Thanks,
That's great.
Paddy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's really nice to see a company support someone that they know might not ever end up being their customer, and they just care about the industry that
Paddy
much.
is a PSA, Like,
Yeah.
I feel sorry for him sometimes. People forget that too, He's definitely a PSA. He's hands on the ground. He's PSing every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So fast forward a little bit. How did you organize that jump from that small venue to last year's seminar, the first year here at Radisson?
Again, I will admit that this is a little bit fuzzy because it's a while ago.
Yeah.
But talking through Facebook and starting to see each other at these, you form a family and a friendship with your fellow board members. Especially, we don't just see each other once a year.
Right.
We travel around the country and see each other
Yeah.
now, and we do the meetups as well. And through talking to people and people saying that was really good, and we knew,
Yeah.
like I think one of the first things I said to you within the first 10 minutes was, if we do this again, it won't be in a pub. You just learn. You learn on the ground as
Right.
you're going.
Yeah.
So by making this big list of things of what we won't do again and what we would do again, we suddenly realised we'd organised a conference.
Yeah.
And that, I don't even know who organised the Radisson now in hindsight, but I know
It's
that
really good that
Aidan
you
came
can
here.
learn from those things instead of just, repeating the same thing. It would be so easy for you to just kind of toe the line, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll do this again next year. We'll do this again next year. But you see that, there are more people, and that it picks up steam, and that,
Yeah,
you
can't do
want to
that.
expand. And
It's
you want
not,
to
it's not going to
expand.
work. We'd have people queuing at the door of a pub.
Right. So did you get a big response after that first year of
Yes.
people, they saw it and they were like, oh, I wish I had been there, and let me
Yeah.
know when the next one is, things like
Definitely,
that. Yeah.
hugely. And not just people from England, people from Europe as well, which
Yeah.
was terrifying and exciting at the same time. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, because
response.
last year, or was it that first year? Yeah, Tim and Hika came over for that first year.
First year, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's great. So they came over from Germany.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. How did people react to you announcing that there was eventually going to be a membership?
And if I'm honest, I don't really think people realise what we meant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a membership to what? We're just hanging
Right.
out in a pub and we're,
Right.
we're looking at a screen and we talk online. Membership to what? But that didn't matter to us because we couldn't really tell them what yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, we're doing something, we're not really sure
Yeah.
what we're doing. We've got a few plans. We know the industry needs change. We know we want betterment. We know this FGM thing's probably going to become major in the future.
Just for people listening, if they're not familiar with the term FGM, it's female genital mutilation, and it's basically just the very short strokes. I'm going to be interviewing Paul King about this later. That consensual adult female genital piercing is classified as mutilation.
It could be.
It could be
depending on how you
prosecuted
interpret
as
the law.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there is that room there where something that's consensual amongst adults and that is not destructive can potentially be classified that way if a certain council or inspector or legislator wishes it to be.
If it came to a court of law, the word says piercing.
Right.
That's what it boils down to.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's definitely an issue that the industry over here needs to be involved in. So I would imagine that keeps coming up in conversation.
It does. It's a bit of an elephant in the room at the moment because we are waiting to see how certain court cases come out with big name brands working in London that do modification and alteration for cosmetic purposes. So we can't rise up too much, I guess. We're not big in numbers yet too.
Right.
So
Well, let them pay the court bills for now.
exactly. We'll see how that one turns out. And then if there's a bandwagon to jump on, we'll jump on it, or at least build up towards that.
What are some of the other issues that people brought up when you started saying things about
it was more
membership?
the questions we got asked from people that led us to the decisions of the classes that we have.
Right.
So people would come up to us and say, you did a metals class. Why did you do a metals class? We would have to then almost not recoil with, because you need to know about metals, and kind of put a polite head on and go, well, very gently, it's important to the industry, to the medical, to the body, to piercing. I'm trying not to sound stupid when I say it, because really it should be obvious why metals are important.
You need to know what your jewelry's made out of.
But we were getting asked questions like that by people that you could tell have been piercing for a very long time. And then if you would do the quick Google search, you'd be like, bless them, these people need a bit of help. So from the questions we got asked, we then formed, well, we should, if we're going to do this next year, which it looks like we're going to, we should start aiming it towards this, this, and this. So as much as you said that this organization's growing organically, that's where the organic chemistry comes in, where we're feeding off our feedback.
Well, it's good that you know enough to look at that and listen to the market, the local industry, and realize, like, okay, this is what would be most beneficial. Not like what's the cool thing on the internet, what's got sizzle. It won't.
You can't expect everyone to just pull their socks up and do what everyone else is doing just because someone thinks it's cool.
Exactly.
You need to show them how and tell them why.
You need to educate them and let them draw their own conclusion.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that what they're doing could be done easier for themselves and better for the client. They just don't realize they're just not necessarily stuck, but if you get taught to walk and you've never had to run, why would you bother? Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
One thing that I always hear pretty much universal praise on is when you started kind of announcing that there would eventually be a membership, you didn't say, like, this is our law, you have to conform to this immediately to be included. You said, we're going to phase these things in over several years so that you can plan for it, you can, adapt to it, not just like, it has to be day one, bam.
We're hoping that from attending conference, a lot of people will understand it's a 5-year plan, within that 5 years, why we're doing it.
Yeah.
So we'll have the opportunity to educate people as to what we hope from them by the end, if they want to become members, and actually understand the reasoning behind it, rather than just giving them a law, or even accepting lower standards just because it's difficult for a lot of studios to meet them right now, which would mean no growth and also a lot of judgment, because if you can do better and you will do better and you want to do better, you don't want to join an organization that's not bothering.
The lesson that could be learned from the start of the US APP is that there was a lot of infighting at the beginning because people were saying, like, okay, these standards aren't high enough, and some were saying, well, these standards are too high. But they were we're
still getting that.
But they kind of just, like, they met sort of in the middle, and then they kind of upset the top end and the bottom end, rather than saying, like, okay, I get it, let's start here, but try to end here within a few years. And I think the way that you did that was brilliant.
Well, that helped a lot because APP already have effectively our end goal. You guys have already went through all that legwork, and we can look at that and say, well, this is all the reasons why that's a good idea, and we have a journey to go through to get there. Let's do it together.
Yeah, that's great. So last year you moved here to the Radisson in Birmingham, and then what would you say the attendance was there? Was it around 100?
I think it was closer to 70.
Okay.
Yeah, it was closer to 70. We had approximately 50 ticket sales, and then the rest of it would have been organisers.
Okay.
So technically attendees would have been around 50.
Yeah. You had a bit more for vendors and a bit more for volunteer staff too.
Yeah, definitely.
And by that point, you had already had a pretty established board. Because I remember there was, president, vice president, secretary. You had all those positions that would put together a board.
We technically had those from BMX from 2 years before, but
yeah. But now they all had their workload kind of under them.
Yes.
People were working on projects and things like that.
Yeah.
You had instructors last year. Who do you have? Luis was here last year.
Oh, mate, I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
But basically, more instructors and more variety on classrooms. And then last year, you moved to 2 classrooms.
Yes, so we went from 2 speakers on one day in one room to...
I think it was 2 days, 2 rooms each day.
Yes, but I don't remember how many speakers.
Yeah, it was a fair amount, 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah,
some people were doing like double duty, but
yeah.
And then, so what would you think would be like the biggest thing that last year kind of taught you about where the growth is going to go?
Really, that everyone wants to know everything else.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah.
If you could poop piercings right now, everyone wants to eat it up. They really do. There's such a thirst for information, and every spectrum of the information. So we've got people who say, okay, I meet APP standards now, I'm selling gold all day, every day. How do I relax more? How do I stop my back from going out? How do I actually go on holiday and not have to get an apprentice?
Right.
How do I? And then we're getting people still from the very bottom saying, oh my God, what do you mean that it screws the other way around?
Right.
Yeah, so absolute thirst. That's it. It's like an unquenchable... terrifying black hole.
Welcome to the party. Yeah.
It's amazing and it's really good, and without it sounding like any kind of boasting whatsoever, it means at the moment we can't go wrong because everyone wants everything,
right?
But it will filter into different, definitely.
Well, I mean, people still show up to the APP conference in Las Vegas each year, same thing. Like I've never held internally threaded jewelry. I've never attended an actual bloodborne pathogen class, things like that. So we still get it every year. Like that's not going to stop because you constantly have these new generations coming in, and you also have these people who have been in the industry for years, but they've been very sheltered from that information.
I have high hopes of that eventually stopping.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't bother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely you'll bring that baseline up.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So did you any mistakes you can share that you learned from last year?
Taking personal time is probably a bit more important. I've managed to make myself quite ill this year through conference.
Just overloading yourself.
Hugely, and I'm guilty of it. I'm a perfectionist, and I like to meet and talk to everyone, and I like to probably micro-organize everyone to death, micromanage everyone to death.
Yeah.
So for myself, it's going a little bit slower, definitely.
Reminds me of Caitlin McDermott
really?
In a bit. Yeah, because she doesn't do it out of like a controlling way, and I don't think you do it out of a controlling way. It's just that you care so much and you want everything to go so right.
Yeah.
And you really just want to be in there pushing to make sure it goes right.
I take that as the hugest compliment. Thank you. Because Caitlin's amazing.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, thank you. You just called me amazing.
Oh, don't let it go to your head. Get back to work. So another thing that I've really noticed too, I'm part of the committee that hands out scholarships to go to the APP conference in the U.S.
Yeah.
And, we would have some international applicants here and there. And we definitely started to notice a huge spike in the amount that we would get from the UK.
Wait till this year.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well, the more the better, really.
I think everyone here is going to apply this year.
Good. I mean, the people who are deserving, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you got one of those scholarship positions, and I can't think of many people that would be more deserving than that.
Thank you.
So it was great to see you there, and to kind of like really officially make you part of that like APP family, especially like being part of like the volunteer staff, like the whole like duckling army kind
definitely.
of,
So obviously I've met quite a few board members through going to Germany.
Yeah.
And then spoke to even more online and had a couple of Skypes and kind of phone calls and things and started to get to know people. And the whole process of going through the scholarship application, even when you're, I don't like saying this, slightly confident because I was trying really hard.
Yeah.
It was still absolutely terrifying.
I bet. Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying, and so elating to actually get. But the genuine reason for wanting to go was to learn what to do and what not to do,
Right.
and how to organise everything.
Right.
And we're really lucky that one of our board, Charlie, had already been a scholar. So she had already said, this is such a great idea.
Yeah.
And I might have actually asked her to be one of my references, I don't remember now, but she definitely, explained that this is absolutely fantastic, and it just sounded like the best opportunity to learn from the inside.
Well, you get to learn so
safely.
many different things coming to conference that way. If you pay to go to conference, you still have access to pretty much every drop of information, but you're not really kind of like nudged towards certain things.
Yes.
And going as a volunteer, you get to see the classes and the expo, which is beneficial to anyone in the industry, but then you also get to see behind the curtain.
Yes.
And you get to see how they put on that conference.
I needed that. I definitely needed that.
Yeah.
Because realising you're going from a pub to a full-on venue is hugely,
Right.
There's a lot of responsibility and there's a lot of expectations. And like everyone in APP has said to me, don't reinvent the wheel. Yes, guys, I'm sick of hearing it. I understand why you're saying it, but I needed to go out there and learn how you guys made the wheel.
Yeah. But I mean, you can see here that you've taken some of the best parts of the things you've been exposed to. So you have some of the social vibe of BMX. You have a lot of the like logistical kind of side from APP, the vendors and the way that you invite instructors.
Volunteers
and
move around, right? That's
basically,
it's
which
is why Charlie's in charge of the volunteers,
right?
Yeah, because she's done it now for a few years and she knows it. Yeah,
but it's good to see that you learn the right lessons when you go to these things, because you wouldn't want to have someone fly across an ocean and not get the point of why we put on that conference. It's not for our own egos, and it's definitely not to make money. It's just to help everyone, regardless of where they're at in the industry, their experience level, or whether you love them or hate them. You want everybody to have access to all that information.
Of course, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Aidan had also been a volunteer too, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And then we also have a social media committee who was a volunteer with me. It's Marie, and so we've got quite a lot of people who are quite experienced.
Each year we get more and more British scholars, British applicants definitely, but also British scholars. I think within the last few years, I mean, we've had Hannah, we've had just like so many different people, and not that he's really UK because he's Northern Ireland, but Jason Heaney, and we've had all these different people, and it's great to kind of change that image of people thinking that the UK is so backwards and so far behind, and showing like, no, these people are really impressive and they're really trying and they're catching up fast, and I really like to use the term like emerging market.
Yes.
Like the UK is like where it's at right now, basically,
That's really cool. I do remember being in BMX one year and basically having a conversation with just whoever was sat next to me, because that's what it's like, saying how we should watch these Americans, because what these Americans tend to do filters across to you guys and eventually gets to us. And I said it and then thought, why the hell does it do that? Why are we letting it do that?
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to spend 5 years traveling around the world?
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Before we start picking up on it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, internet definitely speeds things up.
Yes.
And then having those like international conferences where you have that mixing of talent pools really, really speeds it up.
Yeah.
And then especially when you get people that that really want to get involved in volunteering and really like the guts of how those things are put on. That's where you make huge progress. And now you start to see it everywhere. So going from last year to this year, what would you say the attendance is this year?
This year we sold 112 tickets, and
That's
we
great.
have approximately 30 behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
a pretty big
double.
jump from 5 at your first meetup.
Yeah. Massively.
Yeah, and then you've got, it seems like a lot more vendors this year, and vendors that are traveling here from other places. I mean, you have
Sacred Symbols over in Mexico.
From Mexico, you have Maya here from the States, you have
Lovely Loaves and from Germany.
Right. Yeah.
And we had to actually turn people down because of space limitations.
Right. Yeah. NeilMed came over. It's great that you have that connection with NeilMed having distribution in the UK now.
Yeah.
That must be really convenient.
It is definitely convenient, but it's
yeah.
still new to people over here.
Yeah.
The expenses, obviously, it's the first thing people see when they see changes, they see money.
Right.
And again, that's just going to take a little while. Thankfully, NeilMed basically said people can have everything for free.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We just want you guys to realize that the price difference is worth it,
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
They're one of those few companies where, like, they don't want to squeeze their clients. They want to just say like, here, have a whole bunch of our product for free, try it out, and if you like it, which you're probably going to like it, realize that you get free shipping, you get this and you get that, and you get all this support and you get all this promotion, through.
You don't have to sell something that's good.
Exactly.
It sells itself.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm not a huge fan of that term, it sells itself, but that definitely is one of those products where it really does sell itself. It's such a simple and easy product, and it's really nice that a company that massive is paying attention to this market and is really supporting it.
And considering this is still quite small, they could have ignored us for another few years, and they didn't, which is very, very sweet.
And then they would have waited until they could have cashed in on it.
Yeah.
But they don't want to just cash in; they want to help grow.
All of the people who are here feel that way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can tell when a company is greedy and they just want some money. Those are the companies where I didn't sell enough. I didn't that. I'm not going to bother with this again. But then there are those other companies where it's just like, maybe I didn't sell huge numbers, but I got huge interest, so I want to grow the market. Exactly. Yeah, it's great. So you have the 2 classes again, you have more instructors. So
it's now over 3 days as well.
Yeah, so and you added on the extra day.
We had to. Yeah. We could have added on an extra day.
Yeah.
But then the cost would go higher, and we had to rein it in somewhere. Mm-hmm. We really, really did. But from the feedback that we've had, one of the best things we've actually had is that there were specific body placement classes.
Yep.
Yeah. So your tongue seminar went down really, really well.
Really? Did it? Yeah.
A lot of people said, oh my God, I suddenly realised that we could pick a piercing and talk 3 hours about that piercing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people then said, we want that.
So many different classes are... They're like the sampler plate. It's like, let's talk just a little bit about a bunch of different things. That's actually what one of my classes was last year. It was like, ear cartilage fundamentals, where I talked about a dozen different piercings, but only maybe 5 or 10 minutes per piercing.
Yeah, you just kind of touch on everything, because actually you could group it together quite well.
Right, yeah. But now I'm really trying to focus on let's spend a whole class talking about tongues
it was
this
absolutely
or that.
Absolutely loved. Yeah, definitely. To a point where we were thinking about next year having one anatomy piece each day, so you just have a body part to focus on for a whole, not a whole day, but that one day there'll be a class.
I'm looking forward to Jeff's nipple class.
Exactly, yeah. Well, that's another thing people came out. They said this is great that it's just been one body part. Yeah. Now I feel like I can do this in my sleep, or I've learned so much more that I can start to do it in my sleep. Right. I can't wait till tomorrow,
That's really how people learn, because I could have tongues wrapped into the freehand class and be like, oh yeah, this is how I physically pierce. Let's watch a 2-minute video about how I put the needle through. Mm-hmm. But I really like to break it down into, this is why I'm doing it this way. These are the things in there that you're avoiding, and this is why I have this placement, and this is why I chose that jewelry, and this is how I prep it.
The difference between caring and making money through monkey see, monkey do. You know?
Right.
Yeah, if you actually care about what you do, you want to know why. And more to the point, if you want to take what you do and apply it to an almost unknown situation, if you know why you're doing what you're doing, you can adapt it.
Exactly.
But if you don't know why you're doing it, you'll see something different.
You're just mimicking something.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. There's no learning in that.
Yeah.
And everyone's here to learn, which is exactly the proof by the fact of them coming out saying, "Oh my God, talk again for another 3 hours about tongues."
Right. Yeah. No, that is good, because it's not sexy. Talking about tongue piercings is not like a cool class. There's no hashtag about tongue piercings and all that, and people aren't putting in crazy expensive gold jewelry, but it's a staple piercing. Same thing, septums, nipples, things like that. Those are really popular piercings. Same thing. You need to know the whats and the whys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we had our members only meet today.
Yeah, how did that go?
It went unbelievable. And again, it should have been twice as long. Everything needed to have been twice as long. I'm glad it hasn't, because it's good to leave people with a thirst and to learn that maybe a half-hour extra is a good idea.
Right.
But a lot of people definitely could have said a lot more, which is amazing. It means our members are really engaging.
Yeah.
They want to see progress, and some of them were just nodding and smiling and humbly being, I'm glad I'm part of this, which was also fantastic. Yeah. But one of the big things that came of it was a discussion about potentially, I won't go into it too much because it's not really been discussed yet, but more information on the background of sterilization, actually how you do it, for example, which is probably one of the most boring subjects we could talk about.
I just so happen to have a fully prepared 3-hour class on safe practices in the sterilization and piercing areas.
I know, and we then decided that it could start out, for example, with a discussion about how you process tools, also then about, this is potentially 3 hours, another discussion about how you would possibly reduce your tool content and start using disposable, and then completely ending on fully disposable. And our members were all nodding and smiling in agreement that it would be a boring ass seminar, but no one would be sleeping. Everyone would want to know it, and that it's essential information, and that it could, it's core information. It needs to be in there. So you can talk for a very, very long time. And one of the biggest things I've learned from this seminar is that we need more, want more, should do more.
Well, that's a really good sign, because like one of the worst things that could happen is, you talk for a half an hour, you run out of things to talk about, and nobody engages, and nobody has a question, and nobody cares enough to continue the subject. Even if you have an hour and a half class or a 3-hour class, and you still have those people popping their hands up, and it's like, well, what about this and what about this? That's really great, because it shows that those gears are turning and people are actually thinking about the subject.
And then you get to learn more about the thing you're talking about and say, well, next time I'll be more prepared. We'll have answers for this, and then it might shorten it down. We'll have more questions, and we will learn together. So I spoke this year for the first time.
How did that go?
Oh God.
Little mini heart attack.
Well, I never wanted to speak. I really didn't want to speak, but I would never ask someone to do something I wouldn't do myself. So, and I was asking all of the board to speak, because we want some Brits to speak, and as a board, we didn't want the Brits to speak without having, so it was it was inevitable. I was going to have to speak at one point. My first class was Lumps and Bumps with Helen, and it was so much fun.
Really?
I absolutely loved it.
That's awesome.
I didn't expect to love it so much. Just it's like having little bunny rabbits all look at you going, I'm sucking everything in. It was so cool.
There's a monster being created.
Maybe not about anything else. Talked about a few other things since, and I realised that I definitely don't like public speaking, and I definitely wouldn't just speak for the sake of it. But that specific subject was really good fun. So I've then done transitioning between external and internal thread, and I knew less than the other people who were there, so that's not my forte. And
how was that received?
So I took from that class that one of the first things I said was, has anyone completely transitioned? And then it was like, well, why are you doing here? What are you doing here, really? And it was, I guess, maybe just to get a confirmation of why they've done it. And then again, figuring out if anyone was not planning on it, like the two extremes, to kind of gauge where we were. And then it narrowed into, there was 2 or 3 people who had already switched but were struggling to stay switched for price. And someone who was about to make the switch. And I took from that class that so long as the people who had switched managed to stay switched, and the one that wanted to did, it was a success. That's how I took that class. And I think the other people in the room really felt like they were part of someone else's journey, which was really cool. But
well, it's good because it can inspire them to start that journey.
I remember being that person. I remember being, oh my God, I'm not putting my hand up. Someone externally threaded. Oh shit, it's done again. And
I was right there too.
Exactly. Everyone was, because jury didn't start out internally threaded.
Well, some people were lucky enough that they did. I think that's maybe not quite as common over here. But in the States, there are some.
Actually, Seb was only 6 months. So it was 6 months, and it was effectively 2-year apprenticeship. Very well trained, bless him. And so he learned. He was barely piercing at that point, really.
It's great though. I mean, just seeing everybody not pushing against the information, they're just pulling it towards them. It's nice.
And asking lots and lots of questions. We had a doctor in today, Dr. Emma Sprush, is a friend of mine in studio, acquaintance friend, customer come friend, one of those ones. Was there a shortened word for that?
Custa-friend?
Custa-friend?
Custa-friend.
Friendant?
Friendimer?
Friendimer. I like Friendimer. And that went down amazing. She was also nervous, but she spoke quite a lot. And she has spoke. She just done a seminar last month to 400 people. I don't know why she was nervous of us.
Well, maybe it's because it's kind of outside of the familiarity.
Maybe. But she did amazing, and that made me also realise that watching people look at slides, biology slides. Everyone was taking photos of those slides.
Right.
I finally understand what that damn thing is on the wall. They could have talked about that for hours. I told her next year she's got to bring a lot more slides and draw pictures on them and all sorts. We like that.
So what do you see being like the teachable lesson of this year?
That we need to get bigger.
Yeah,
we need more space for expansion. So the Radisson has been absolutely amazing to us. The space is perfect. The only thing that we could do is move upstairs, but that would mean separating everything. And it's very, very, this is a very communal industry. And we have a very friendly atmosphere going on. I would feel that separating it over 2 floors would lose a little bit of that, because you're cutting everything in half.
Not too much though, because if you look at it like comparing it to a conference in Las Vegas, you know, they have all those different sections where they have like the giant classes here and the smaller classes here, and it's all still in the same venue, and people are still crossing themselves in the hall.
Then maybe I've learned that I want to build my own venue space where it's like a giant spider, like an airport, where all the classrooms are at the end of the legs, and you've got a giant communal place in the middle where everyone has to meet and buy things.
Do it. SpiderCon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that might be what I've learned.
It's good, though, that you're growing organically and that you're not trying to just, like, what's the largest we can possibly do next year? Let's get 500 people.
We're probably actually holding it down so that we can keep it manageable. So we could have went much, much bigger. I've already said we could have had an extra day today, and that was just through the demand of class and the amount of people that wanted to speak and the amount of vendors that wanted to be here.
It's smart, though, because you know, you're volunteers and it's non-profit. Like, you know, you don't want to overexpand because that's how organizations collapse.
Exactly. We don't want like a boom and crash.
Right.
We want slow.
Because there have been multiple UK organizations for piercers in the past.
Yes.
2 or 3 at this point, right?
I only know of one, but there maybe has been more.
Yeah, I think I've heard of other little things that have kind of like stopped before they really got to start.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, but it really seems like this is something that the industry is holding on to, and is like, okay, this is our community, not their community. Yeah.
Massively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're here to stay.
I hope so. Yeah, because I want to keep coming over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be conference without you now.
Oh, yeah, I'm your lucky charm. That's basically what it is. Yeah.
With did we find out the beard things? Is it a snood?
Snood.
It is a snood.
Yeah,
yes.
I mention that all the time in my classes now. So for the people listening, I have a majestic beard, and I wear a beard covering while I pierce or work in any sort of like, you know, sterilization area or something like that. And I always called it a beard net. And then the first seminar at the pub, they're like, that's called a snood. And now that's what I refer to it as when I'm teaching my classes. Yeah,
so the snood has to be a conference, otherwise
snood.
It's not a conference. Not you, just the snood.
The snood, yeah. So if I ever can't make it over, I'll send a snood in my stead.
You would as well.
Yeah, I would. I totally would, yeah. I'd send probably a cardboard cutout of myself wearing a snood.
We already have a cardboard cutout of Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a cardboard cutout of
That's
you.
good. He's got a few axe holes now, though.
He does, in the crotch department, poor bugger.
Yeah.
So again, for those who don't know, we had an axe throwing event last night.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Even though I was terrible at it.
I had my money on you and Paul and Paddy, and you all let me down.
Yeah, sorry. But it did go really well. Yeah. I think it was really well received, especially having events that aren't tied to alcohol.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Basically, yeah.
Definitely. So that was courtesy of Nici Lloyd Proctor. She just come back from holiday and haven't done it, and just suggested a tiny bit, I think, on the group, and it went down like a storm.
Oh, yeah.
There was limited numbers, and the tickets had sold out in 5 minutes, and then people were fighting over them in the bar last minute. And if I was well, I definitely would have been there and whooped your ass. Yeah. Well, just, you know, my lack of skill whooped my ass already, so don't worry about that. I've never thrown an axe.
Yeah?
No, never.
It was fun. You feel very, like, tough when you do it.
But you probably have to go, ugh, as you do it. You got to make a noise, you know? Like,
yeah, that you'll do much better if you're very aggressive about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like fighting.
Yeah. So tonight's what, the Rocky Horror Night?
Tonight is a meet at the boss. This is going to more than likely involve alcohol for about 99% of the people down there.
Yeah, well, it helps with when people are going to be in drag.
Exactly. Yeah, the whole theme is definitely just get dressed up in drag. So are you getting dressed up?
I didn't bring a costume. No,
That's not
sorry.
an excuse.
Yeah, I don't. You know, my fishnet days are over, I think. Yeah.
I'm not sure how many people are going to go fancy dress, so I'm going to wait until after food,
go
through the bar, and then get changed and come back down again.
Makes sense.
Otherwise, I could just tape up and be that only kid at the party that showed up.
Cool. Yeah. So, if people want to find out more about the organization, where would they go?
Definitely the website and the Facebook group, but the website has more updated permanent information. That's Rocksteady decided I'm going to stay, and that is www.ukapp.org.uk.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's quite a lot on there, and that's due through some of the discussions we've had this past few days. There's quite a few changes coming up on there soon, so watch out. Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's always good to kind of freshen it up. You know. And then the Facebook group, if people want to kind of maybe like nibble at it.
Yeah, maybe? The Facebook group, you just type in UK PSM Meetup group.
Yeah.
Or, I think if you type in UKPP into the internet now, both of them come up within a page, so you can't lose one really. And the Facebook group is much more, it's even more social than the social.
Yeah.
Because it's permanent. It's 24 hours a day. You could go on there at midnight and you could say, I'm thinking about moving to Alaska. Does anyone know a decent piercer out there? And they're like, oh, cool, my best friend.
Bink, check this person out.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked on there like late into the night because of the time differences and things. So, there's almost always someone on there. I think we're at nearly 500 members now, and the vast majority of them are local. There's maybe a fifth of them.
And it's great how the conversation keeps going. Just like you said, it doesn't fizzle out. Like sometimes with the body modification learning forum, like it goes through these ups and down periods where if there's a topic to discuss, people are more engaged. But once the topic kind of reaches its conclusion, people have their conversation and it kind of fizzles out a little bit.
Watching for a while and wait for the next
basically
one
until the next one. But the UK one, it's like every day there's a conversation, there's a thread, there's a comment.
Have you noticed how if it does go quiet for 2 days, someone that you've probably never even heard of will go, "Hey guys, it's awfully quiet. How you doing?"
Yeah, and then it's just like, "Hey, how's it going? Let's talk about this thing." Yeah,
we have the best bunch of piercers here. We do.
It's a really good group of people. Yeah. So again, if people want to find you, where do they find you?
They find me on my studio website, which is bluelotuspiercing.co.uk. You can find me through ukapp.org.uk, and you can find me through Instagram, Blue Lotus Piercing.
And you can also find you through safepiercing.org.
Oh my God, you can, because I'm also an APP member.
You are. All right.
Thanks for that.
I appreciate you as a person, and I appreciate your time. So
thank you very much.
I'm really excited to see where this goes, and you're not going to be able to get rid of me too easily.
Yeah, thanks. This wasn't horrible.
Good. Okay. Maybe let's do it again next year.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Cool. Thanks. All right, so next week I've got a really good interview with you. I've got Paul King, the current treasurer of the APP, and Dr. Matt Lauder. They're both historians, both really into the anthropology of our industry, and they're going to be talking about the FGM issue in the UK. That's female genital mutilation. It's a really strange topic from the American perspective, but a really important topic for the UK market. Basically, technically, female genital piercing is classified as like an assault. So they talk for about an hour, really kind of explaining the ins and outs, no pun intended, of that subject, certain advances they've made, and the obstacles that pretty much the whole industry faces to try to get that overturned. So stick around for that one. I've got a bunch of other really awesome interviews coming up in the next few weeks too. If you want any sort of specific stuff covered on the show, feel free to email me at piercingwizard@gmail.com or send me a message at Facebook.com/piercingwizardpodcast. I'll see you next week. For more information about the show, visit piercingwizardpodcast.com or like Piercing Wizard Podcast on Facebook. For more info about your host, visit precisionbodyarts.com or search Ryan PBA on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr. If you enjoy the show, you can subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcast, and Google Play. Music by Benny B. Blanco. Show copyright 2017, Precision Body Arts LLC, all rights reserved.